thank y'all so much for all the work that y'all have done over the years. The marching and the protests and the strikes and all of your work is now more important and more needed than ever before. You know, Rick mentioned that my family and I grew up on the west side of town. We grew up there because that's where my grandmother settled when she came here as about 6 or 7 year old orphan from Coahuila, Mexico. And my grandmother worked most of her childhood and almost all of her adulthood till she no longer could work. She worked, as she used to say, as a maid, a babysitter, and a cook, to do everything that she could to give my mom, who was her only child, a better chance in life than she had. And in many ways, my grandmother's story is part of the American story, the American dream. But there was also a tougher side to it for her. My grandmother used to have to work 2 or 3 jobs at a time because she didn't have a single job that paid her enough to make a real living. She worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time and sometimes hardly got to see my mom. And after all those decades of working, after growing up in a Texas where, remember at this time, there were still signs that hung at Texas establishments that said no dogs, Negroes, or Mexicans allowed. She was punished for speaking Spanish in schools back then, as was my mom. But she worked all those years, and after working 2 or 3 jobs at a time most of her life, she never owned a car, she never owned a house. I don't think she ever had a bank account. She certainly didn't have a retirement account. And she was never part of a union. So when I think about the work that you all do and the importance of the things that you help provide for your members, I think about my grandmother's story, but I think about what it should have been like for her. She shouldn't have had to work 2 or 3 jobs at a time. And after she worked hard all those years, she should have been able to retire with dignity. She should have been able to afford a house. She should have been able to